Hi, welcome back. We're going to discuss today another topic that is called as transportation. Another important life processes in human being and all living organisms. It directly goes to the transportation in human being. So we have for transportation purpose. In continue with the topic we discussed in the previous session. The blood having blood cells and as well as plasma, and the plasma is having the blood cells. As you're seeing over here, the blood plasma is having the cells like white blood cells and red blood cells. Okay, they have different functions. So what we are going to discuss here, the transportation part mainly. That means the role of WBC as the immune cells, giving the protection against invading microbes, that we are not going to discuss today. We are going to discuss the transportation part of the blood. So what are the role of plasma as transportation? As a liquid part, it transport the food items, food in the sense nutrients, like we told the absorption of nutrients in the small intestine like proteins, amino acids, carbohydrates, etc. in the simplest form. So proteins as amino acids, carbohydrate as glucose, and fatty acid and glycerol. So these components will be transported by plasma. It also transport the respiratory gases, mainly carbon dioxide, and different type of minerals and waste, metabolic waste. So these are all transported by plasma in the blood. So we can see the composition once again. Different type of blood cells, RBC, WBCs and platelets. So these are all the composition of plasma, right? And as we already told, the role of red blood cells. The red blood cells are meant for transport of respiratory gases, especially that of oxygen and as well as carbon dioxide. So when a capillary blood vessel, the thinnest blood vessel, here you can see capillary, which carry blood reaches into the cells, near the cells, they will release oxygen and nutrients from the blood, and in return the cell will give carbon dioxide and metabolic waste. Means metabolic waste. What are the metabolic waste? Different type of urea is a metabolic waste, it is produced, and as well as carbon dioxide also metabolic waste, excess water also metabolic waste, it is coming. So these are all given back to the blood from the tissues or the cells, right? Then the hero arise, heart, that is a pumping organ in our body, very specially designed to pump large amount of blood at a time, because we need energy all the time. Each and every cells of our body need energy, so the heart has to pump the blood through a network of blood vessels, so it will reach into each and every tissues or cells in our body. So you can see that the heart is extensively connected to the all part of the body. So upper part, carotid artery, carotid veins, you can see here, and into the hands you can see here, it is going down to the lower part of the body, so and into the internal organs. Now all the way the heart has made a very nice network of blood vessels. It also supplies to the lungs. Okay, so we have discussed that in the previous session. When we discuss about the heart, It is having in human heart a special structure. It is having 4 chambers. Even though the size of the heart is small, which can hold in our fist, but it has 4 chambers to prevent the mixing of oxygen rich blood that is coming from the lungs and carbon dioxide rich blood, it is coming from the tissues. So in the previous session we had seen that the blood carries carbon dioxide from the tissues, reaches into the heart, and heart will pump that into the lungs, while that the lungs will give oxygenated blood that will come to the heart. From there it will go to different part of the body. So the heart is having we told 4 chambers. The upper chambers, which is a little smaller, that are called as atria. And the lower chambers, that is ventricles. So diagram of the heart is very important, and it is very easy to understand. So you can see the 4 chambers here. We can see the atrium, so the right atrium here, and the left atrium, that is a little slightly behind that. And the 2 atriums are connected to the ventricles, right atrium to right ventricles and left atrium to the left ventricle. Okay, so this is the left ventricles, this is the right ventricle, right atrium, left atrium. I can see here that is the pulmonary artery. Okay, which is going from the right ventricle, and aorta, a great aorta, is going from the left ventricles. Okay, so this is the color is given like that, not because exactly the same color. It denotes that the pulmonary artery carries deoxygenated blood. That means blood containing more carbon dioxide. That is one interesting thing, that the right portion is always deals with deoxygenated blood or blood coming from the body, while the left portion is dealing with the oxygenated blood. That means blood is coming from the lungs. So you can see that entry of blood vessel from the lungs into the left atrium. From this side also it is coming, and you can see that 2 blood vessels, superior and inferior vena cava, opening into the right atrium. So remember, right means carbon dioxide containing or deoxygenated blood, left means oxygenated blood, oxygen containing blood. Okay, left is oxygen containing, right is carbon dioxide containing blood. Upper chambers receive the blood, lower chambers pump the blood. Very easy to understand. Okay, very easy to remember. What are that? Left deals oxygenated blood, right deals deoxygenated. Upper chambers receives the blood, lower chambers pump the blood. You can see here the ventricles having thicker walls compared to that of atriums. Why? Because it has to pump the blood. In order to pump, they have to generate more pressure. More pressure they have to generate. So that is why the ventricles are thicker wall than that of atriums. Okay. So it's about the structure of heart. So again we are told the same thing. Okay, the carbon dioxide rich blood reach into the lungs for oxygenation. From where it is reaching? From different part of the body. You can see the blue color line. The blue color line is coming from different organs. Okay, and it is all joined to the vena cava, the blue one. The vena cava, you can see here the vena cava, inferior vena cava. Vena cava is a main blood vessel or main vein that carries deoxygenated blood. The inferior one from the lower part of the body and the superior vena cava. You can see a superior vena cava which carry deoxygenated body from the hands and as well as from the head portion into the which part, which chamber it opens? Right portions. Okay, right portions. So we told atriums, which right atriums receive the deoxygenated. Here it is shown the blue color. Okay, then the oxygenated blood brought back to the heart and from the lungs. So lungs, it is pumped. How? The atriums, right atrium receive the deoxygenated blood, pour into ventricles. Which ventricle? Right ventricle. From right ventricle through pulmonary artery. Pulmonary, that the word is linked with the lungs. Pulmonary. Okay, the pulmonary artery, the artery goes to the lungs, goes to carry the deoxygenated blood into the lungs, where it is get oxygenated. Already we have seen that it goes to the alveoli, there it is exchanged. Then that will be brought back into left, which one? The left atrium. Left atrium, you can see here, the left atrium receive the blood from the this lung and from, so the left lung and from right lung it receive the blood, and that will be pouring into the ventricle. So that is what the oxygenated blood is brought back to heart from the lungs. Then it is pumped. So the ventricles will pump, the blood will go to aorta. Aorta here branching into upper part and lower part. You can see the lower part is coming and pumping into each and every organs. So this is what you can see extensively. Another picture, more simplified one. Okay, inferior vena cava, superior vena cava bring blood to right atrium, right atriums to right ventricle, right ventricles to pulmonary artery to left and right lungs, where it is getting oxygenated. From the left lung and from the right lung, the oxygenated blood comes to the left atrium. Left atriums to left ventricles. Left ventricle into great aorta. So this is representing all tissues. Got it? Once again we will discuss the circulation system in human heart, that is called as double circulation. Double circulation is very interesting thing. Human circulation is called as double circulation. The reason is that because the blood passes twice through the heart in order to complete one cycle. So double circulation, the blood passes twice through the heart to complete one circulation. So that double circulation has been divided into two. That is pulmonary circulation and systemic circulation. Let us see what is pulmonary circulation. Pulmonary, I already told you the word denote, indicate, linked with lungs. So what is there? The circulation goes to lungs and coming back, that is called as pulmonary circulation. So we can start from where we can start pulmonary circulation. Right ventricles. So this is the right ventricles. Color too, I understand the color is given, no need to worry. Okay. The right ventricle, the right heart, the left heart is labeled here. You can see the right ventricles pump the blood through pulmonary artery. I told you again, remember, pulmonary artery into the lungs. Lungs, the blood is getting oxygenated. Its artery gives oxygen into the lungs, and carbon dioxide into the lungs, and replace with the oxygen. And the pulmonary vein, you can see over here, which carry the oxygenated blood. From here also, the pulmonary vein carry the oxygenated blood back to the heart, the left atrium. So this is called as pulmonary circulation. So we can write as a flow chart. Okay, right ventricles deoxygenated blood through pulmonary artery to lungs. From lungs, pulmonary vein carries oxygenated blood into left atrium. This is called as pulmonary circulation. Okay, so one circulation is over once it is passed. So here the carbon dioxide is exchanged with the oxygen and get the back to the heart. So pulmonary artery goes to lungs, pulmonary vein come from the lungs. Pulmonary artery carry carbon dioxide, pulmonary vein carries oxygen. Remember these points, it will be very easy. Okay, now we will see the next one, systemic circulation. Systemic one, now the blood which is oxygenated is in our left atriums. From that it goes to left ventricles. Okay, from left ventricles it goes to aorta. It goes through aorta into different part of the body, into lower part and as well as upper part, where it is getting exchanged with carbon dioxide, coming back to right atrium. So this is called as systemic circulation. Remember, systematic alla, systemic circulation. Systemic circulation. So who is carrying the blood into different part of the body? That is aorta. From where? Left ventricle. It will go from left ventricle through aorta to different part of the body, upper part and as well as lower part of the body, where it is the oxygen is exchanged with the carbon dioxide in tissues as a result of metabolism, and the vena cava, which vena cava? Inferior vena cava and superior vena cava bring back the carbon dioxide rich blood, deoxygenated blood back to the right atrium. So remember, aorta carries out and vena cava bring the blood in. So this circulation is called as systemic circulation. So pulmonary circulation, systemic circulation together called as double circulation. So now you see, oxygen containing blood and carbon dioxide containing blood never mixes. It's not mixing in the heart. Okay, here it is not mixing. Here it is getting exchanged. Here also not mixing. Here it is getting, because oxygen is going there, so it goes to the cells where they are ready with the carbon dioxide waste. They will take oxygen and give carbon dioxide to the cells and tissues. So this is a very interesting and a flow chart to understand the double circulation of human body. Okay, right atrium which receives the color also given here. See the circulation. This is called as systemic one, and here you can see the pulmonary circulation. So two circulation is shown here. Okay, of course you have to draw the diagram of human heart, diagram of circulation, but if you draw this also, it will be very easy for you to understand the concept of double circulation. Okay, clear? Yes. Now little more anatomy about the human heart. The human heart ventricles having the thicker wall. I told muscular wall is thicker than the atria. It is very interesting. You can see that the ventricles walls here thicker here compared to that of atriums. Another interesting things you can note down here. Which ventricle is one? The left ventricle wall is thicker than the right ventricle wall. Can you say why? Both the ventricles are pumping, but the left ventricle having thicker wall than that of right ventricle. Is it by mistake? No way. Okay. You just see what they are doing, then you will understand the reason behind that. Okay. Right ventricle, our right ventricle, where they are pumping the blood, right ventricle, remember, right portion, deoxygenated blood. It has to get oxygenate. From where it get oxygenate? Into the lungs it will go. Pulmonary artery. So, the right ventricle has to pump the blood into lungs, while left ventricle has to pump the blood into, through aorta, whole body. It has to pump the blood into whole body. So, who need more pressure? Who has to generate more pressure? The left one. Left ventricle has to generate more pressure. See the image. See the image. The left ventricle has to generate more pressure so that it is having thicker wall compared to the right portion. Please remember, very important area of concern. Another very important thing is the heart is having valve, not wall, valve. So previously also we have seen the valve. You can see here, it is colored here, tricuspid valve between the right atrium and right ventricle. There is a tricuspid valve. Right atrium to ventricle, tricuspid valve. Bicuspid valve or mitral valve between the left atrium to left ventricles. You can see semilunar valve. Lunar means, what is lunar? Moon. Semilunar valve, half moon type valve. Where it is here? In aorta. That is not clearly shown here. Here also one valve is here, and the pulmonary also having one valve. What is that a valve? What did they do? You can see the valve closed condition image. Okay, bicuspid valve and as well as tricuspid valve. You can see here semilunar aortic valves. What is the role of them? See, when the ventricles pumping, ventricles contracting, there is a chance of blood flow back to atriums because it is open. So the valve will close. Similarly, when atriums contract, the pulmonary blood may come back to prevent. Here there is a valve. Are you getting or not? Is it slightly difficult? So let me show you one small video to understand the double circulation in human heart, the role of valve. Watch carefully.
Ventricular contraction causes the atrioventricular valves to close, which signals the beginning of ventricular systole. The semilunar valves were closed during the previous diastole and remain closed during this period. Continued ventricular contraction increases pressure in the ventricles above the pressure in the aorta and pulmonary trunk, causing the semilunar valves to open. When the ventricles relax and their pressures drop, blood flowing back toward the relaxed ventricles causes the semilunar valves to close, which is the beginning of ventricular diastole. Note that the atrioventricular valves remain closed. When the pressure in the ventricles becomes lower than the pressure in the atrioventricular valves open and blood flows into the relaxed ventricles. This accounts for most of the ventricular filling. The atria then contract and complete the ventricular filling.
So it is shown continuously. Okay, I think now you must have understood the role of valve. How do they prevent the backflow of the blood during the heart functioning? Got it? And human heart, we know that it is functioning extensively throughout our life. It starts pumping before our birth. Before our birth, and when a embryo in the first 2 months stage, the heart, first month itself, heart starts pumping. Your heart is 8 to 9 months older than you. Got it? And very important, the structure of heart. Now, let us see about the circulatory pathways in other organisms also. It's a slightly different pathways other than other organisms. Okay, this is what has shown the earthworm circulatory pathway, and a slight patch difference is there. The earthworm is having closed circulation while the H6 having open circulation. This is meant for insects. Okay, so just let me clarify it. So open circulation is by insects and closed circulation by the earthworms. So what is the open circulations? There is no blood capillaries for continuous flow. From the heart, blood flows into the open chambers, body cavity, and from there go back to heart. So tubular heart is here. Well, here it is different. The closed circulation, we are having closed circulation. Earthworm is having closed circulation. In the closed circulation, blood flow only through the blood vessels, whether it is arteries or veins or capillaries. That is a closed circulation. Okay. Okay. Now we will go to the next little higher organism, that is fishes. Fishes having heart structures. So two chambers are there in fishes. Two chambered fishes. So they have only one atrium and one ventricle. Okay. So one atrium and one ventricle. Atrium will receive the blood, ventricle will pump the blood. So very interesting things you can see here. Between the gills and as well as tissue, there is no heart pumping. But in our area, in our body, between the lungs and as well as tissue, there is heart. One chamber is coming. Left atrium and ventricle is coming to pump the blood. Here the blood flows from the gills into the organs and coming back to the heart, and that is pumping into the gills. There is only one pumping, that they are pumping into the gills. So that is what the single circulation in fishes. So fishes having two chambered heart. When come to little higher organisms, amphibians and reptiles. So they have two atria and one ventricles. So they call us partial double circulation. Okay, you can see here a single ventricle is there, but atrias are two. So that is why it what will happen. The blood is get mixed here. Which blood? Oxygenated and as well as deoxygenated blood can mix together. Okay, so that is what very important. A partial double circulation in amphibians and reptiles, while that of mammals having complete double circulation. So you can see a clear wall is there between the left and right side. Okay, here it is not like that. A complete is not there. It is mixing is there. Okay. Now let us study about the blood vessels. The role of blood vessels. So what are type of blood vessels? Well, basically three types: arteries, veins and capillaries. The first one is artery. The biggest artery, what is the name of the biggest artery? Aorta. We are seeing in the heart structure. Aorta is the biggest artery. The artery in our body, you can see the biggest artery, aorta, divides into smaller and smaller blood vessels. Smaller and smaller blood vessels. You see here, artery branches into just like in our hands coming. This is like a artery in branching. Very profuse branching is there in the artery and goes to individual tissues, cells. It goes here another artery, pulmonary artery that also goes profusely branching. So you can see the anatomy of artery just to show that it is having thick walls. Arteries are thicker walls. You can see that 3-4 layers, elastic layers, endothelial tissues. Muscles are 2 layers of muscles are there. Outside connective tissues here. Okay, that is not required for us, but at least about the function of that thicker wall, like that we should know. Now let us see about the veins. So veins are given here in the blue color. What is their role? Collect from different part of the body. It brings the blood into the heart. Into the heart. That are veins. Collect blood from different part, bring into the heart. So you can see the capillaries. So what is capillaries are not a different type of blood vessel. The artery and veins are branches and form capillaries. So I want to show you with my hand. So this is my left hand. This is my left hand. Okay. This is my right hand. So this left hand is artery, right hand is vein. So this is heart is here. Heart is pumping through artery and receiving through veins. Understand like that? So this artery branching into, I told you, fine arterioles, or we can call as capillaries. Now this capillary is joining with the venules. So venules are capillaries of veins. So see that this is what happened. This is why we call as a closed circulation. So blood will flow from artery through arterioles, the fine capillaries, into venules, the fine veins, into the big vein, superior inferior vena cava, back to heart. So this is what the structure. So capillaries are nothing but the branching of arteries and veins. You can see here the flow of blood over here. From artery it is coming, branching into arterioles, that is capillaries, and it is venule, joined into veins. So the smallest blood vessel and the thinnest one, this is the structure of veins, not as thick as artery. But you see the capillary, the thinnest, smallest blood vessels, 1 cell thick, called capillaries. Similar to that of we told about the alveolar sac of lung. Capillaries also having made up of endothelium. We had discussed that the thinnest blood cell, thinnest cells. Why the capillaries are so thinnest? So it can diffuse, exchange the materials, nutrients into the tissues, connect back waste materials, oxygen into the tissues, collect back carbon dioxide. So that's why it is very thin structure. Now let us see about the role of platelets. Who are platelets? The third type of blood cells are called as platelets. We have seen the WBC, RBC is platelet. What is the role of platelet? It is mainly working during a cut. When you have a cut or wound, blood will come out. But after some times, it normally seals. The blood flow will stop. How does it happen? That is what we are just showing you over here. That when the blood loses, it leads to less pressure or loss of pressure. That is very important, because when the pressure is low, the blood cannot be pumped into the vital organs like our brain and as well as kidneys, etc. For filtering kidney in an adequate pressure. So that pressure cannot generate. It is very difficult or dangerous. So to prevent the loss of blood, platelet cells will help for clotting over here at the point of injury. So you can see here when the blood flows here, as injury is here, platelets along with the activities of the other cells and blood proteins will seal the area, so prevent the blood loss. So that is, remember, that is the role of platelets to initiate what? Blood clotting during a cut or wound or during that injury area. So that is solved. Now we'll see about lymph. So what is a lymph? How many people have seen their lymph? Okay. When we slips or fell down or we have a strong scratch, we may lose the outer layer of skin, but blood may not be coming out. But after sometimes you can see a colorless fluid is coming out from our body. The colorless fluid coming out from the body, that is called as lymph. So how does it form? It is shown here. You can see here how the lymph is formed. It is shown here. The fluid escapes from the blood capillaries into the intercellular space containing less proteins than blood. Very simple. This is shown here. See, the blood is flowing through the capillaries. Now, when the blood flows to the capillaries, you can see over here. Okay, when blood flows to the capillaries, that capillaries having small gap between the cells, called as photocyte. Small gaps are there. Through that gap, not only the nutrients, even the plasma part of the blood also will go. Plasma part of the blood also will go. This plasma containing what are the things we know? It having nutrients, it having gases, it having carrying waste materials. So the plasma part of the blood will go into the outside where intercellular space in between the cells. Why? Because the blood vessel cannot reach into each and every cell. Suppose I told you, when you have a scratch, blood may not be coming because the blood vessel is not reaching there. But what is reaching there? Lymph is reaching there. So lymph is an extracellular fluid, and the fluid which is coming from the blood capillaries, which is having nutrients, which is having oxygen, and going into each and every cells. In between the cells it passes and it is collected. What collected? Lymph is collected through lymph vessels. You can see the network of lymph vessels, and that is coming back to the heart. From upper part and lower part, it coming back to the heart. And it is also helping in the transportation, because it is, while coming back, it also carries the metabolic waste, and it having the WBC content, so it is helping for destroying the microbe also. Got it? So the role of lymphs, it is told that act as a middleman between blood and cells, where the blood cannot reach into each and every cells. Who will reach their lymph? And from the cells, lymph will get the waste material or metabolic products that they will bring back to the blood. So this is called as lymph is act as middleman between blood and cells. This is because blood cannot reach into each and every cells directly. Got it? Now, a few things we'll discuss about the transportation in plants. So this is about transportation in human being. Now we'll see transportation in plants. So what do you know about transportation? So what are the things the plants need to transport? Plants need to transport oxygen, carbon dioxide, Oxygen required for respiration, carbon dioxide required for photosynthesis. The byproduct of respiration is carbon dioxide. The byproduct of photosynthesis is oxygen. It has to transport. Water they required from soil to the leaves. Nutrients they required from where it is coming? From soil it is coming. From the bottom it is coming to up. And the food produced by the leaves. Food after photosynthesis. That has to be transported from leaves into the different part of the stem, root, etc. So that extensive transporting required. The movement of the materials, membrane passing through the living systems like the cells. What is that process called as? Movement of materials passing through the living cells. Called as there is diffusion is there and water is moving means osmosis is there. So these two type of movements will be there. Okay, that is two type of movements the plant shows, but that is enough or not? Let us see that. Okay, that is what a very important thing. How do plants transport substances to greater heights? This much great height, how could they able to transport? This diffusion and this osmosis, is it sufficient or not sufficient? So that is why they have a special mechanisms to bring the material into greater height. That is called as translocation. So what is translocation? So transport of material over a long distance. How do they transport? By the vascular system. The artery and as well as, xylem and as well as phloem. Artery and vein are in human body. Xylem and phloem are there in plant body. So that is the vascular system in plant. Okay, the xylem and as well as phloem. You can see the xylem mainly meant for transport of water and minerals. Phloem is mainly meant for the transport of prepared food, etc. Is glucose, etc. So the two elements, xylem and as well as phloem. So that is what the role of xylem and phloem. We'll understand with the help of a table. Okay. So you can note down the role of xylem that carries water and minerals from the roots to the other part of the plant, while phloem that carries product of photosynthesis from leaves to the other part of the plant. While xylem does not need any energy, while phloem needs energy in the form of ATP. So this is about the xylem and phloem. You can see the structure. This is the real image of xylem and phloem. This is the diagrammatic representation of that. Okay. For time being, that is enough for you. We will see in the next session.